as we continue our coverage of all of the weather in California. We do want to continue talking about the fact that what we heard Max talk about, what we heard Andrew Kraft talk about, that the rain isn't done with California just yet. Another atmospheric river taking aim at the Golden State, with forecasters warning that the incoming storm could lead to flooding, more snow in the mountain communities as they are still struggling from the last storm. For more on this, we want to be joined now by former FEMA official Mark Neveau. Mark, thanks so much for being here with us on Live Now from Fox. Appreciate it. Your company here today. What do people need to know? Where and when will this weather be most concerning?
Well, they're talking about Friday into Saturday, and a tremendous amount of Pineapple Express coming from the Hawaiian Islands through, and they're talking about it being similar to the January-December storms. And so there's some danger that's coupled with this because of the type of storm that we can talk about if you'd like to, Lexi.
Yeah, absolutely. Please feel free to get into as much detail.
Well, what they're talking about is that the snowpack in California now is at 177% of normal. It's at about 120% of normal in terms of water content. But the snow that's sitting in Northern California, up in the Sierras and the Lake Tahoe area, which is really the water bank for the state of California, as that snow melts, it supplies, drinking water for populations up and down the state of California. But what we are hearing from meteorologists is that that snow up there is considered to be porous, meaning that as this water and snow below 5,000, the rain starts to trickle down into that snow. The snow is going to absorb that water. There is going to be some melting at lower elevations, but at mid elevations, that snow is going to absorb the rain. The trouble with that is there are already tremendous amount of homes, gyms, mobile home parks that have had roof collapses because of the weight of the snow. So what's concerning now is the amount of weight and water content in the upcoming storm.
Yeah, and so Mark, how are emergency groups preparing for this? How's California preparing for more storms, more weather like this?
What they've done is they've put on standby what's called pre-position, and they've got water tenders, they've got hand crews that clear roads, fall trees so they can keep roads open, get trees off homes and critical infrastructure. They have 26 additional fire engines and staff that come with those fire engines to be able to clear that area. They're working with the National Guard to be able to fly in supplies if necessary. So really the focus is to have people in specific pre-positioned locations to get to critical infrastructure if this storm starts to hamper that. i.e. like electricity, we still have 15,000 people in California without power, and a majority of those are in Northern California where this storm is coming to.
And how much harder would you say it is for groups to prepare when there's been back-to-back storms like this?
Well, it makes it difficult, not so much for the responders, because now they know what's coming. This is what's known as a noticed event. They know this weather's coming. They can plan for it. They can pre-position. They can bring in incident management teams to be able to coordinate amongst different levels of government. But the challenge becomes all those people, i.e. in San Bernardino County, who are still trapped in that area up in Lake Arrowhead and Bear Lake and things of that nature, that have not been able to resupply both some of their medicines and food. And so they're trying to get that done before the storm comes. But if they don't get it done, that's the challenge. It's a double hit for some of them.
And what is your advice to residents who have been dealing with this, who are expecting more of this, both before this next round and during?
Certainly make sure you have communications with people. Make sure your cell phone's charged up, you've got a hand crank radio if need be, if the power does go out, that you have adequate water, you have adequate food. Doesn't have to be a lot. Remember, the storm's going to be a couple of days. It may be difficult to get into there. It's not going to be as severe as what we have seen over the last week. So really, we're talking about a 72-hour period, much like you would prepare for wildfires or earthquakes or floods, same type of stuff, the essentials.
And speaking of essentials, especially those folks in the San Bernardino mountain communities, we've reported on and talked with reporters who are on the grounds there just about how they've struggled to get some of those necessities like groceries and food. What's your advice to them ahead of time? Should they just be stocking up right now?
If they can, certainly. What you're seeing is that the firefighters, along with the National Guard, police officers, road crews, are, they're doing a little bit untraditional assignments, and that is getting folks food and essential items. And so you saw in the piece by Max that the rain's coming, but we also see that they've got store and supplies opened up in the local community. So if they can, get to those locations and get enough to get you through that 72-hour period.
And Mark, anything else that we're missing, anything else that stands out to you about this next round of rain and concerns about flooding that you would like to also address we may not have talked about already?
Well, I think what's interesting here is that California, we were in a drought. They were talking about it's going to be a multi-decade recovery to be able to get enough water to service the state of California. In 3 months, we've toppled, 117% in some cases in water content. But what's interesting about this is some of the reservoirs. They're letting water out of those reservoirs. As of 3 months ago, we were in a drought, but they're letting water out because there's fear that there's so much water coming after this storm and so much snow that that's going to put pressure on the rivers and the levees in Central California. And the levees are designed to be able to handle high flows, but not at the consistent rate, multiple days or weeks. So there's concerns about what's going to happen with the levees right after this snowstorm. One thing after another, it seems like.
Yeah, certainly thinking about all the people in California who have been dealing with these storms back to back to back. Mark, we really appreciate you being with us here on Live Now from Fox. Always great to talk with you and get some great perspective from you as well.
Thank you, Lexi. Have a good evening.
Yep, you as well. Thanks so much.